property money. There are so many billionaires being created, mainly from geographical areas that 10 years ago weren't so fashionable, and they're buying up property in London and they're buying up property in Cape Town as well. In the studio with me now is Richard Day, National General Manager of Pam Golding Properties, talking about the luxury property market. The London story is an interesting one because there are so many houses that are being bought by, for example, Russian oligarchs and by Chinese money, South Korean money, whatever it is, and being left untended. I mean, they sit there for 11 months of the year and they're only used for 1 month. It's the same situation prevailing in South Africa and particularly Cape Town.
Yeah, I think we see, we can see a similar situation where there are international purchasers who do buy here in South Africa, and especially in Cape Town on the Atlantic seaboard. So, examples of that are people who tend to live 6 months in South Africa, our summer, and then 6 months in their part of the world in their summer. So that sort of swallow phenomenon, we also see it here. We don't see it as much, I think, where people are spending less than a couple of weeks in Cape Town, or leaving their properties completely, open or not occupied. It does happen, but it's not as prevalent, I think, as central London.
Yeah, I suppose there's the proximity of Moscow to London, for example.
Yeah.
I use the Russian story. Gugu, you don't really get that in Johannesburg. I mean, but I think the apartment scene in Johannesburg and Rosebank may change that.
You are quite right, Lindsay. We have been seeing quite a few buildings being set up around the Rosebank area together with Sandton. Some say a lot of it driven by the Gautrain, but we know in Joburg we don't have a sea or a mountain. So maybe to come to you is are those the issues that are attracting this kind of investment with regard to property in Cape Town? Why are people buying, in other words?
Sorry, can you just repeat that question? Why are they buying?
That's correct. Why are they buying? What's attracting them to that particular market?
To the Cape Town market specifically?
That's correct.
Look, there are a number of factors. I mean, obviously, the lifestyle of Cape Town is extremely attractive, and we've got a number of areas that people find appealing, and everything from the Atlantic seaboard, which has got its own particular appeal. It's an international appeal, all the way through our winelands and into the southern peninsula and into our southern suburbs. We've got beautiful areas in Cape Town that people enjoy living in. The lifestyle is fantastic. They're great schools. There are a number of very appealing aspects to the lifestyle in Cape Town, and spoiled for choice.
We're catching up a little bit, aren't we, as well, when it comes to prices, because some of the luxury apartments and luxury houses in Clifton on the Atlantic seaboard are really getting quite glamorous. I mean, even comparable with New York and London prices.
Well, not really, because if you factor in the weakness of the rand, actually South African properties are still extremely attractive in terms of the price differential when you look at it in terms of pounds or euros or dollars or any of the other international currencies. So, actually we're still very affordable, and I would say, value for money compared to other international destinations, actually very attractive.
Well, there was that one house, I think, near to the Albert Hall in London that is being knocked together. It's going to be some absurd amount of money, £200 million.
Unaffordable to South Africans.
Yeah, I mean, Gugu, I don't know about you, but I think 50 million for a house in Clifton, it doesn't sound very affordable to me.
One day, Lindsay, one day I'll be able to afford it.
One day.
But clearly for the moment, a lot of foreigners are picking up that kind of property. And we recently heard the president mentioning some rules and regulations regarding foreign ownership. Dave, is this something that might curb this kind of investment into South Africa?
No, I don't think so. That statement has since been clarified and refers predominantly now to agricultural land, or even though that's not clear either. So as far as residential property is concerned, there's been some clarification around that, and in fact foreign ownership is not deterred at all in terms of owning residential property. So the attractive nature of South African property is as true forever as it has been for foreigners. But at the same breath, one must make the point that actually the number of foreigners that buy into the South African market are relatively small. It's not a high percentage at all. although some areas, obviously, it's more prevalent than others, particularly the Atlantic seaboard in Cape Town.
Yeah, final question. The Atlantic seaboard is, of course, the focus. People seem to love Camps Bay and Bakoven and all these other places. I can't stick it at any price, quite honestly. It's far too glamorous. It's far too glitzy. Where's the next place, though? Because if people can't afford there, where are they going to go? Full Space, St James, Cork Bay, all those sort of areas which are relatively undervalued, I think.
You're absolutely correct, and we're certainly seeing a lot of people looking at, they look at the relative prices in Camps Bay, and in fact the whole way along the Atlantic seaboard, every right the way along from the waterfront all the way through to Llandudno in reality. And you look at prices there, and then you look at the Southern Peninsula, and you look at places like Cork Bay and St James, Muizenberg, Fischhoek, all the way through Simonstown, Kommetjie, Noordhoek, really offer very good value for money. Although I must say also that prices there are also starting to catch up as people have caught on to that trend.
They really are. Richard, thanks very much for popping in this lunchtime. That's Richard Day from Pam Golding.